Okay, welcome. Our first lesson, really looking at the past, pre-intermediate. We started by looking at present simple and past simple. And one thing you notice here, there are some regular verbs and there are some irregular verbs. What I see a lot is that we use more irregular verbs in a story than regular. Okay? Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14 irregular verbs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 regular. Irregular seems to come out more irregular. So it's really important that you go to Essential Grammar in Use by Raymond Murphy. Page 245. Learn the irregular verbs, please. Okay? It's going to be really important for your exam later on. Then we looked at past simple. Past simple is like present simple. We use the subject and then the verb, but we use the verb in the past, which is why Essential Grammar in Use, page 245, sorry. I know I go on a lot. As you can see, when you're speaking, you're not using as many irregular verbs because you don't know them yet, so you need to learn them. So we have I shopped, I walked, I stayed, I watched, I washed, and we've got a few irregular ones. I went, I woke, I drove. So it was something you need to learn about verbs in the past. When we talk about positive sentences, we use the subject and the verb. But negative is the same as present simple. We have to use the auxiliary verb do. That's the bit that tells us what tense it is. And here, we're using the auxiliary verb do in the past. I drove my car, he drove his car. The verb doesn't change in the past. I didn't drive my car, he didn't drive his car. Auxiliary verb in the past, always the same. And of course, whenever you use the auxiliary verb do, the present simple must be used as the main verb. And just a quick note over here, when we were looking at the past simple, the verb to be is the only verb in the past simple with two verbs, was and were. And so remember, it's the only verb in the present simple with three verbs, am, is or are. Everything else is come, comes, fall, falls, feel, feels. But this one has three. So we need to remember that. Then we moved on to look at past continuous for the first time. Here it is. Before we looked at past continuous, or some people call it past progressive, we looked at how we tell a simple story using what happened and then what happened next. So Natalia was telling a story. I woke up at 7:50, I got dressed, I had breakfast, I took the kids to school, I got some money out, I went shopping, I came home, I had dinner. It's a boring story. So we use past continuous and we mix it with past simple to make stories more interesting. Here are two examples. His car caught fire. We were talking about a guy called Frane Selak here. His car caught fire while he was driving along the motorway. So there he was driving and suddenly, boof, his car caught fire. And to connect these two together, we use the word while before the continuous tense. Or, here's another instance of Frane. He was driving in the mountains when he saw a truck coming for him. So we see him driving in the mountains when suddenly he saw a truck. So we just have to remember that when we join these two together, we need to use while before the past continuous, or we use when before the past simple. That's where we are at the moment. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible, and we'll keep taking it further and further every week. Thank you.